You're mid-sentence. Someone cuts across you like you were never there. So you do the polite thing. You smile, you speed up. You try to squeeze your point into the gap they left you. And that's the mistake that trains people to keep doing it. Because the moment you compress yourself to fit their pace, you signal that your place in the room is negotiable. Here's the shift most people miss. This isn't a battle of words, it's a battle of standards. In this video, I'll show you 3 angles that change how you read interruptions, and 2 simple protocols that stop you from losing your thread, even when someone keeps pushing. One is about which kind of authority you're actually protecting. The other is about what you do in the seconds after you stop reacting. No drama, no speeches. Just a calm way to hold your ground without turning the conversation into a fight. You're assuming the problem is, they took my turn. That's the smallest part of what just happened. In any conversation, there are 3 kinds of authority, and most people keep trying to win the cheapest one. The first is speaking authority. Who has the floor? It feels urgent because it's visible. You can hear it. You can measure it, and that's why it's addictive. But the second layer is what actually decides your position. Definition authority. Who gets to label what just happened? Was that an interruption? Or just enthusiasm? Was it disrespect? Or you're being sensitive? The moment you start scrambling to explain, you're negotiating the label. And if they control the label, they control the room. Then there's a third layer people almost never talk about. Exit authority, not storming off, not punishing. Just the quiet ability to end a bad exchange without begging for it to improve. A standard backed by action. Here's the trap. When you're fixated on speaking authority, you'll talk faster, you'll squeeze, you'll chase the opening. You look like you're fighting for permission. But when you protect definition authority, your silence isn't taking it. It's refusing a frame you didn't agree to. And once you have exit authority, you stop needing to win the moment. You can let the moment be messy while you stay clean. Now, there's an even faster way to lose than losing the floor. It's losing your thread. You don't freeze because you're not confident. You freeze because your brain is suddenly doing 3 jobs at once. In a clean conversation, you're running one track. Speak your point, follow the thread, land the sentence. Then the interruption hits, and your attention gets yanked sideways like someone grabbed the steering wheel. Now you're listening to them. You're holding your original idea, and you're monitoring yourself. Don't look rattled. Don't overreact. Don't lose status. That third job is the silent killer. It eats your working memory. And working memory is small. It's a scratch pad, not a warehouse. When it overloads, you don't forget because you're weak. You drop the thread because the system has no space left to keep it active. That's why you can feel the idea sitting there, right behind your forehead, yet you can't pull it out on command. You're not empty, you're overloaded. So the fix isn't a tougher comeback. It's a micro anchor that keeps the thread pinned while the room gets noisy. One word, not a phrase. A label for your next point. Quietly, internally. Like cause, example, bottom line. While they talk, you hold that single tag. That's enough to keep the door open. And once you keep the thread, you stop needing to perform strength. Because the calm you're chasing isn't emotional, it's cognitive. And there's a small proof of that. When you can hold the anchor, the urge to rush disappears. There are rooms where you keep getting cut off, and it has nothing to do with your delivery. It's the group's reward system. Some groups run on a speed rule. Whoever speaks first owns the direction. Whoever hesitates gets edited out. Not malicious, just habit. And in those rooms, you can work on yourself forever and still feel like you're losing, because the environment keeps paying people for rushing. Then there's a second rule. Who is allowed to interrupt? In some circles, the interruption isn't random, it's permission. Titles, seniority, charisma, even who the group is trying to impress. If you're outside that permission zone, your sentences become optional. So here's the comparison that matters. In a room with no guardrails, you're fighting traffic with your hands. You'll spend all your energy trying to be sharper, faster, louder, just to stay visible. And the moment you slow down, you vanish. In a room with a moderator or a clear speaking norm, you don't need to fight at all. One small intervention resets the lane. A clean pause. A simple, I'm going to finish this point. Then you finish. That's the decision you've been missing. You're not choosing a strategy for a person. You're choosing a strategy for a culture. So before you blame your confidence, measure the environment. How much does this room protect turns? Because if the room protects nothing, you need a different plan than better lines. Calm works until it doesn't. There's a point where staying composed stops reading as control and starts reading as permission. Not because you're weak, because you're still playing by a good faith rule that the other person already broke. So you need a quick boundary test. When you finish a sentence and they cut in, watch what happens when you don't chase them. If they correct themselves, sorry, go on. That was a slip in rhythm. If they accelerate, stack over you, or smirk like they won something, that's control behavior. Different problem, different response. Here's the 12-second protocol. It's not a line, it's a sequence. You stop talking, you hold still. Eyes up, face neutral. Let the interruption land without resistance. Count slowly to 12 in your head. If they keep going, you've just collected your data. If they stall, they've just felt the boundary you didn't announce. Then you escalate in 3 clean steps without emotion. Step 1. Adjust tempo. Restart your point from the last 5 words, slower, like you're placing it on the table. Step 2. Change channel. I'll send this after. Or we can take this one-on-one, and you move the content out of the circus. Step 3. End the interaction. Not continuing like this, and you stop. That's the difference between composure and compliance. You're not trying to win the moment, you're setting the rule for access. And if you want the part most people skip, the thing that keeps you from performing calm, there's training behind it. Most people don't lose respect because they said the wrong thing. They lose it because they trained everyone around them to ignore the standard, not with words, with repetition. Every time you keep talking after being cut off, you teach the room that your turn is optional. So here's a 7-day routine that turns knowing into a reflex. Day 1 and 2. Practice the anchor. 1 word in your head the moment you're interrupted. Standard. Day 3 and 4. Practice the wait. Finish your sentence, then use the 12-second stillness you learned. No extra explaining. Day 5 to 7. Practice the exit. End an interaction cleanly when the pattern repeats, without a speech. Now the cheat sheet, because context decides strategy. In a meeting with a chair or clear turns, you don't need force, you need timing. Pause, then re-enter slower and finish. In family settings where people talk over each other as a habit, you switch channels. I'll say this after, and you stop feeding the pylon. In group chats where speed is rewarded, you stop competing entirely. Send one complete message, then go quiet. This isn't just stoic. It's a basic principle communication authors repeat in different language. People follow what you consistently reinforce. Your voice isn't the point. Your pattern is. And once your pattern changes, you don't need to act confident. The environment adjusts around the standard you keep. Hold that as the rule. Dignity is not a feeling. It's a behavior standard you enforce calmly. If this hits, comment standard.